What's happening, fantasy football public? This is the DFS 5-pack starring Matt Bellman featuring Ryan Kostrowski. We are here to talk a little year-long fantasy football. Here to talk about the new Megatron of the Detroit Lions, Kenny Golladay. Like this kid, he can ball, he can play, he's got the size. What's not to like, right, man?
I love him, but hold your horses on calling him the next Megatron because I am a big Golladay fan, but no. I mean, I know you're playing around being facetious.
Oh, no. I didn't call him the next Megatron. I called him the new Megatron.
You think he's got the potential?
He's not as good as Calvin Johnson.
No. I mean, Calvin Johnson's one of these guys that comes around like every 10 years, you know?
Right. I thought Randy Moss was better than Calvin Johnson. Jerry Rice has got the numbers. Michael Irvin was really good, but Calvin Johnson was a freak of nature. Excellent player.
Yeah, you just named like 3 of the top 10, wide receivers ever.
Yeah,
Calvin Johnson in that class. Every 10 years might even be an understatement for a guy like that.
Would you rather have Calvin Johnson or T.O.?
Calvin Johnson, because of everything that T.O. brings with him, but I don't think it's like far away. T.O.'s also right there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, go check out Overlay Fantasy Sports. No contest right now unless you were watching this one. If you're watching it today when it's coming out May 15th, there's nothing up. But if you're watching this closer to football season, go get your money in. We'll be breaking these down all year long and talking about how we can try to win some money.
Yeah, man. Daily, yearly. I love just talking sports with you, and then it gives me my picks. I wanted to bring up a guy. Excuse me. I had the NFC North on my mind after you brought up Aaron Jones. So I wanted to go with a guy that I know we both like, and we'll see how much we like him after we break it down.
I don't know what's not to like. I think the only debates you get into with this guy is like, who do you like better, him or Chris Godwin? Guys that are ranked right around him or, I think you can make cases for him as high up as wide receiver 3. Right after. What's that?
I like him more than Godwin personally.
And I can't blame you for that one because he's not competing for anybody else to be the number one guy in this situation. I mean, with the exceptions of Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams, is there a guy who's a more clear-cut number one on his team?
Maybe not. He's right there with those guys, man, because, yeah. And the other thing that we'll get to this point, but I know you'll love is Detroit is a team that will – I don't want to say they're going to be losing every game, but it's not a team with an amazing defense. Let's put it that way.
Nope, not a scary defense or anything like that. They lost their cornerback in Darius Slay with the trade to the Eagles. I mean, I can't expect their defense to be shut down. Before we get into more reasons to like or dislike Mr. Golladay, guys, please subscribe to the station if you haven't done so already. Thumbs up is always appreciated. Simple app by you goes a long way for us, so thank you for those of you who do that. As far as the Detroit Lions go this year, we're back into year 3 of Matt Patricia. Darrell Bevell remains the offensive coordinator. I have zero injury concerns when it comes to Kenny Golladay, so it's not something that I'm really taking into account. What we saw last year from this guy was he played all 16 games, meaning that I think he's played 31 of the past 32, so health has been phenomenal. He's another guy. Maybe his receptions per target is not great percentage-wise, but he hits you on the big play. He caught double-digit touchdowns last year, darn near 1,200 yards. He's coming into his prime at the age of 26. He's got size, which you cannot teach. I don't know what's not to like about him. He should get all year of Matt Stafford, too, hypothetically.
Yeah, how many games did he play without him? Do you remember last year?
Wasn't it like half?
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, the receptions are a little bit lower than you would like, but considering that he played half his games with like a scrub quarterback, he's good, man. You said it best. There's nothing not to like because the numbers are there. The eye test backs it up. I love how he's really starting to come into his own. This is a big-time year, a 4th-year wide receiver, a full year of Matt Stafford. So either Detroit is going to have to score because their defense isn't great, or maybe they're a little bit better than people think. And I don't think that they have a chance of being better without Stafford and Golladay being very good, if that makes sense.
So this is where we get into some of the idiosyncrasies and the ideas of what this offense wants to do this year. And with the drafting Swift, clearly they want to run the ball a little bit more effectively. Kerryon Johnson has not been able to stay healthy for the majority of his career early on. This team could shift to a little bit more of a running attack. However, while that may take away from a few attempts pointed in Galladay's direction, it can definitely help with the efficiency. It could definitely help the offense sustain more drives. So while it could take away from him in one area, it could also help him in another. So for me, it doesn't really give you reasons to take away or to add to him. It's just another way for him to be effective while maybe losing a couple looks. But hey, then there's a few more, longer drives.
I like it personally because I agree with you. There's, reasons plus and minuses as in a lot of things in life. But for me, Swift is good. And yeah, you're right. It probably will eat into some of his touches, but I think I like your other point more. It's going to extend their drives. They're going to have the ball more. They're going to be scoring more. Swift is good. I think they needed another spark, a guy that can really just plug into their offense. Another situation where not like Aaron Jones because Kerryon Johnson hasn't been able to stay healthy. But I was surprised to see the Lions take a running back that high. I think the value on Swift was just too real at that point. And I like them adding good pieces to their offense because I feel like they're an offense that hasn't had really that many good pieces outside from Golladay and Kerryon Johnson when he's healthy.
Year 2 of Hawkinson could be another thing that could benefit him. There's plenty of reasons to be encouraged by the Detroit Lions offense this year as being a little bit better than it was last season, especially if we get a full year of Matt Stafford, who is a guy we will definitely make a video on, who I think is tremendous value at the quarterback position for year-long fantasy. So I'm excited to talk about him down the line a little bit further. I have nothing really else to add to Kenny Golladay. I think he is appropriately ranked as far as where you got him. And again, as far as additions to this offense, they didn't make many moves with the addition other than Swift, right? Like they re-signed Amendola, they signed Geronimo Allison. Nothing major right there. But we're looking at Golladay right now at about 15th to 20th overall, mid to late second round, wide receiver second, 7 arguably. Again, that's where you get into like the Chris Godwins. Is this an appropriate ranking for him? Yeah. I think it is.
So just going back to like the additions, I had him circled before we got on the video. I love the Hawkinson point because year 2 for tight ends is oftentimes a big year. He was a top 10 pick last year. I actually think Detroit could be like good offensively, not even just better than last year. I think that if Matt Patricia stays out of his own way, like they have pieces to be good. Matt Stafford is solid. He can move the ball with the best of them. And they've got pieces now. I wish they had a better number 2 wideout, but Amendola's solid, and I think Galladay's a stud. So I like what they've done on offense. If Hawkinson can emerge into like one of these premier tight ends, then they'll really be cooking.
No doubt about it. There's reasons to be encouraged by their offense, especially if Swift is able to step in day one and be effective. And maybe you get him and Kerryon Johnson running the ball real effectively. Then that creeps the safeties up a little bit, and Golladay is very effective at getting you with the big play. With all that size, he's going to be a red zone target for his entire career. Him and Hawkinson down there, 2 guys that can get you inside, get you move the sticks on 3rd down and get you into the end zone. There's reasons to like the offense this year. So, again, if you want to play that game, like who would you rather go with the other wide receivers around him? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay, so like Michael Thomas is ahead of him, duh. Devontae Adams is ahead of him, duh. Julio Jones is ahead of him, duh. After that, I think.
Oh, wait, real quick. I just want to ask you, like, how do you compare Julio Jones to Calvin Johnson?
Very similar.
I'd rather have Calvin Johnson, but very similar.
Yeah, they're very, very close. I think you can make an argument either way.
Okay, so going back to this point. I agree with you. Michael Thomas, Adams, and Jones definitely over Golladay. Hopkins. What about Hopkins?
I would take Hopkins over Golladay. I wouldn't bet a lot of money on him finishing ahead of him. And the big reason for that is I got to see what year 2 of Kyler Murray brings. It's a new place for DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not at all surprised if Golladay outscores Hopkins this year.
If I can get Golladay at like that, I mean, is there a chance he's going at like the end of round 2?
Sure.
Then yeah, I mean, if I was doing a snake draft, get like Saquon and then Golladay, sign me up all day.
I feel very comfortable with that. We just talked about Aaron Jones here a minute ago. If I'm at the end of round 2 and I'm looking at Aaron Jones and Kenny Golladay, that's the easiest pick for me, period. I mean, there's no question about where I'd rather go with my team at that point. I feel very, very safe with Kenny Golladay. I'm sold on him. This is not a pick that's going to ruin your fantasy draft, with the exception of injuries, which we can't control.
We can never control them, and they always approach the NFL. But okay, continuing on with this game, Golladay or Tyreek Hill?
That's a tough one. I think Tyreek Hill is the guy more likely to win you a league by setting some sort of crazy record. But honestly, with the way I play year-long fantasy football, I'd probably rather have the consistency of Kenny Golladay on my team.
Yeah, same. So when you say like some sort of crazy record, you mean like if he scored like 25 touchdowns this year, you wouldn't be surprised?
Like if Tyreek Hill had over 2,000 yards because they just found a way to get him a full healthy season of Tyreek Hill, and he was just making crazy amounts of plays. So I think Tyreek Hill's a guy who every week he goes out there, you think of like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns as a possibility. He's also more injury prone. He's more risky. But Golladay is a guy more likely to go out there every single week and get you 690 and a score.
I definitely like Golladay more. Maybe I'm alone in that opinion. That I don't know. I definitely like Golladay more. So many more mouths to feed in that Kansas City offense.
Right. And if I asked you, who are you going to bet to be healthy, Golladay or Tyreek Hill, what would you say?
Golladay.
Okay, so that's one. Also, while Tyreek Hill's ceiling on any given week is as high as they come, and at the end of the year, Hill's year-long statistics might be better than Galladay's, I think a lot of it comes in like 3 or 4 monster games, and then you're stuck with a lot of 4 for 40.
So you're right. If he had 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns and 200 yards, as you think of like his upside every week. But with this Chiefs offense and how good it is, are you going to be surprised any week if they score 5 touchdowns, but Tyreek Hill doesn't have any and has 3 catches for 40 yards?
No, not at all. I said 4 for 40, so I'm right there with you.
On the flip side, if Detroit scores 4 touchdowns, do you think Golladay is probably involved in one of them?
I would usually bet that he was.
Yeah, same. So I'm with you. I like Golladay more there. I personally like Golladay more than both the Tampa guys, Evans and Godwin. How about you?
I think at this point you're splitting hairs. I think they're all really good, and I can absolutely get on board with Golladay over either of those guys because those guys will eat into each other. I'm not as convinced that Tom Brady is just able to walk in day one and just light the world on fire. I mean, I'm not saying he won't because he's Tom Brady. I mean, it's a lot to doubt that guy, but he is 43. And everybody who seems to think he's going to put up the same numbers as Jameis, I don't think that's 100% guaranteed because, one, Tom Brady's a lot smarter than Jameis, right? He is not going to throw into double coverage over and over and over again. Like I heard Skip Bayless the other day say that Tom Brady will do all the same things as Jameis minus the picks. Well, one of the reasons that Jameis threw for 5,000 yards and 30-plus touchdowns is because he's not scared to try. Tom Brady is smarter than that. He's not going to force it into double coverage, which sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, hence the 30 touchdowns and 500 interceptions.
Well, it's also easier for Jameis to throw for more yards when he's putting his team behind.
Yep.
Tom Brady is not going to have the numbers Jameis has had. I like Brady if people are sleeping on him because I think he gets a lot of the touchdowns when they're in the red zone and the goal line. We've talked about that. But I certainly don't think he's going to have numbers like Jameis.
Right? None of them, because the interceptions will be cut into a third. The touchdowns might be the one that's replicable, right? That might be the one. I don't think the yardage will be the same.
I mean, Jameis threw 30 interceptions.
Yeah, cut him in a third, right? 10 for Tom Brady. That's more a very typical season for a guy like him.
Yeah, for sure.
Touchdowns could be similar, but I don't think the yardage will be as high because, like you said, he's not going to put his team in harm's way. He's also not going to force it into double coverage. He's more likely to go 3 and out, and I'll get you next time.
Tampa was also a team like playing from behind a lot last year. Who knows? They might not be in that position.
Yeah, probably not. I'm thinking the defense will be a little bit better this year. Yeah, there's reasons to like that. So, again, we could go back into this game, Kenny Golladay or Mike Evans, Kenny Golladay or Chris Godwin. I just think it's a good idea. I'm sorry, I got lost. I got a text message at the same time. I feel very safe with Kenny Golladay, and I can make a case for him as high as wide receiver 4.
For sure. I'm with you 100%. And, man, I the other thing is, and I know you're a fan too, I like Stafford. Like, he is definitely a guy that can move the ball. He reminds me of a lot of ways in terms of, like, I think of how talented they are. Matt Ryan. I think they're, like, on par talent-wise.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a question about which guy you would want. And probably given the situation, like I like Stafford in a come from behind type of mode. No conscience, he'll go for it. He's had a lot of clutch plays for a guy who hasn't done a lot of winning, and that's not really necessarily want to put the blame on him because he plays for Detroit. Yeah, those guys are very similar as far as where I would draft them.
Yeah, like I guess that my question: if you had to pick one to like lead your quarterback this year for the future, whatever, who are you taking? I think
Probably
the
Matt Ryan.
popular answer is Matt Ryan.
I've seen him do more winning than Matt Stafford. You know what I mean? Like Matt Stafford's got some great comebacks. He's put up some nice numbers. And I don't blame him for the culture of losing in Detroit that has been following them for almost the entirety of their franchise. So I can't just put that all at the feet of Matt Stafford. That being said, quarterbacks have as much influence on the outcome of a game as any position outside of basketball players and starting pitchers. So he hasn't done anything to help them win.
No, they're both number one overall picks. He can take a lot of that blame, in my opinion, because if he ever won or if he had won, like he'd get a ton of the credit. He definitely deserves some of that blame. Not all the blame because Detroit has been very dysfunctional, but a lot of teams are dysfunctional until they get a star quarterback.
Right. It's hard for me to give him credit for the losing or fault for the losing when that's all Detroit's ever done is lose. But at the same time, he hasn't changed the culture there and made them win. There are quarterbacks who have changed culture and made teams win. Peyton Manning.
Yeah, the stud quarterbacks. I'm with you 100%. I'm not sure I would rather take Matt Ryan, but I think it's real close. And yes, Matt Ryan has done more winning, but I think Stafford might be a slight bit more talented. But they're very comparable in my opinion.
I trust Matt Ryan not to make bad decisions more than I do trust Matt Stafford not to make bad decisions. Having watched Stafford play, Green Bay twice a year and, outside of other games I've caught before that, he's going to make some dumb choices. I don't think Matt Ryan makes as many dumb choices, but if it's 90 seconds to go, 75 yards, and all things are equal, I kind of want that gunslinging Matt Stafford on my side.
I think Detroit could. I mean, I don't know how much how good their defense is, but with how things change year to year, I think they have pieces. And I don't view the NFC North as last year going in, it almost seemed like it was one of the best divisions. Now it's not that good at all.
Obviously, how my Packers play this year has a big part on that statement. I expect the Vikings to be solid again.
They're rock solid. But I think that they're clearly the top team in the division going in this year. Green Bay is right there. Those two are rock solid, but neither of those teams are Kansas City or Baltimore or anything like that. And then after that, Chicago, who are they? And then Detroit. I think Detroit has upside here. They could also easily be the worst, for sure.
Right. But I think the NFC North has an opportunity to shock people this year and be what they thought it was going to be last year, because Detroit could be a 500 team, maybe better. The Bears could be better this year, moving on from Mitch Trubisky more than likely. If you get Hakeem Hicks doesn't get injured, and that allows Khalil Mack to do things that Mack had been doing 2 years ago, the Bears could be a playoff team. Obviously, the Packers were a playoff team. We expect Minnesota just to meander into 10-6 without even really trying too hard to do that.
They're the definition of a 10-6 team. They're a playoff team that's not going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's Minnesota right there. You have no faith in Kirk Cousins leading this team to a Super Bowl victory, but you fully expect him to be 500 or above 500.
Yeah, they should make the playoffs as a 4-16 and probably lose in their first game.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. That's kind of the way I view it as well. So, okay. I think we see this one. I think of all the guys that we've talked about so far, whether you're talking Cam Akers, David Johnson, Tom Brady, this is the guy I feel most comfortable saying I think he is 100% being appropriately ranked and valued right now. I feel very safe with him. If I don't do a lot of snake drafts, but if he's there for my taking in the mid to late second round, I feel extremely comfortable with him on my roster this year.
I'm with you. Yeah, we see it eye to eye.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Thumbs up is always appreciated. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, guys.